Abroad Pod.
Hello, listener, and thank you so much for joining us on this 49th edition of the Teaching Abroad Pod. I'm your host, Ashley Chambers, and joining me this week as co-host is my colleague, Rowan, from our Job Placement Service.
Hello.
Hello. How are you today?
I'm great, thanks. How about you?
Yeah, pretty good. It's a bit weird being on the host side of this today. I've lost my usual living spaces because my father-in-law is over from England. So I have a lot more sun today, and I'm trying not to be blinded by it. But I mean, in October, there are probably bigger things that I could be complaining about than the copious amounts of sunshine.
Yeah, I mean, they say natural light is the best light, so I think it looks good.
Thank you. So we have one of our most popular blogs just out at oxfordseminars.com/blog, the annual Top 10 TEFL Opportunities blog. And we're going to be talking about some of the highlights from that in a moment. But first, a word from our sponsor.
With Oxford Seminars, starting your new career teaching ESL couldn't be easier. Oxford Seminars has trained more than 70,000 teachers over the past 30 years, and you could be next. Our comprehensive 120-hour program starts with live instruction from an experienced ESL teacher, followed by convenient online modules. If your goal is to relocate overseas or even teach from the comfort of your own home, Oxford Seminars' renowned lifetime job placement service will get you where you want to be. Right now, you can get $50 off your Oxford Seminars TESL, TESL, TEFL course price when paying in full by calling 1-888-225-2480 and giving the code TEACHINGABROADPOD. Visit oxfordseminars.com today to find out more.
Welcome back, listeners. So as mentioned off the top, we've got the highly anticipated Top 10 TEFL Opportunities blog out now. Are there any significant changes from 2023 to 2024?
Well, there are a couple of noteworthy movements, I would say. China, with their record high salaries and plethora of positions available in all school types from kindergartens through post-secondary, is a great place to be considering for 2024 and has bumped Korea out of the top spot. So that's a bit of movement there. Also, Italy has jumped into the top 10. It seems the demand for teachers is so high, and the reality of Brexit kind of settling in. Schools are working to sponsor work permits for UK nationals and also eager to interview candidates who qualify for the working holiday visa. So this puts young Canadians at a significant advantage, along with, of course, EU passport holders for snagging these English teaching jobs in Italy. The Canadian working holiday visa is for 12 months, but actually you're allowed to participate in the same program twice. So you could potentially work in Italy up to 2 years on that visa.
I love that Europe's gotten back in.
A lot of people want to go to Europe.
I mean, I wouldn't hate it, let's be honest. So if I'm wanting to make money, but China isn't really somewhere I want to go, where else would I go if I was looking to earn more money, increase my savings?
So this is why Korea is always near or at the top of this list, and things haven't really changed much since I was there way back in 2008, 2009. They're still offering free apartments, at least one-way airfare, and pretty decent salaries. And that's something that actually has changed in the last year or two. Finally, schools, maybe to increase the number of teachers that are applying, did boost their salaries for first-time teachers. Not all of them, but some of the schools are offering up to 2.5, 2.7 even million Korean won per month. And, when I was there, I was getting 2.2, and that really hadn't changed until the last year or two. So that's nice for people who want to save money. Go to Korea, you can definitely save at least $1,000 a month, I'd say, if you're living a reasonable lifestyle. And then Vietnam also is one to check out. The cost of living remains really quite low. The salaries are even going up a bit there too. Some of the international schools are even offering up to about $2,800 or the local equivalent. And that amount of money certainly goes a long way in Vietnam, even if you have to rent an apartment. The apartments aren't that expensive.
Yeah, that's amazing. Thanks for that. If money wasn't much of a concern, what areas could I look for at volunteer-based positions?
One of the top volunteer programs we work with is in Spain. And although it didn't make the top 10 list this year, it really should get an honorable mention. There's always tons of jobs for EU passport holders and a number of great programs available for youth as well, whether volunteer or work study type internships where you can go on a student visa and do some professional development courses in Spanish or TESL while also teaching English. So the volunteer program specifically is for youth 30 and under. They're 3-month positions starting in January, April, and September each year. You get full in-country support along with free room and board with a local family. So it's a great way to experience that authentic Spanish food, culture, lifestyle. And you can even check out episode 45 of this very podcast to get a great preview to the program with their founder. In terms of sheer volunteer opportunities, we also have a number to consider in Mexico, Guatemala, Honduras, Costa Rica, and Colombia. And a lot of them offer free housing as well. So even though you're not getting paid, with that free apartment, it's not going to cost a lot of money to be living there and really, really experiencing that for 2 to 3 months.
Yeah, for sure. That overhead cost, not having it would certainly make a difference for sure if you're volunteering. What are some additional considerations one should make while researching countries?
I guess a bit of a consideration is when you want to go and also for how long. The majority of schools in a lot of countries really hire once or twice a year when the school year starts or for the second term, especially when it comes to public schools, international schools, private K-12 schools. Language schools, not so much. They might try and fall within that period, but they tend to hire more year round. But for those K-12 types of positions, you should probably start looking quite a few months out to have time to prepare the visa documents for the February-March term or the August-September term. And that especially applies to places like Korea and China and Japan, some of the big TEFL markets abroad. And in terms of short term, if you can't go for a full 12-month contract, maybe look into shorter term contracts in Latin America. There's like 6 months or even less, 3 months for volunteer. And Thailand is also a really good one to consider for short term because a lot of the public school programs in Thailand offer 1-term or 5-month contracts starting in May or October, even into November and December. There might be last minute openings still available, which run through March. So you can get quite short term in Thailand. So that's one of the reasons it's a top 10 choice. Lots of jobs in the K-12 schools and the availability of short term positions.
For sure. Are there any forums or blogs that you find useful to seek more personal experiences?
Yeah, I mean, when I was in Korea, the main one I found useful was that I joined the Gongju Folks Facebook group, and that was really useful. They'd post upcoming events in the city. It was a really great way to know what was going on, where you could find people just to show up and kind of meet others in the city. And people who were leaving would also post stuff for sale. And that was a really affordable way to get some useful cookware, musical instruments, stuff like that for a great price. So seeing if there's a group like that in the city where you're going, I would say is a good idea. Reddit, maybe. I've seen useful stuff on Reddit occasionally. I'm not really a big Redditor, to be honest. So I don't know what percentage of info on there is super reliable. But how about you? Did you find any good sites when you were teaching abroad?
I mean, it was a long time, so it was really before any of that was coming up. So I'm not sure that I could say anything relevant, but I do think that it's a good point about finding local online groups, especially, I mean, Facebook is so easy to find other friends that are in your area for sure. Any form like that, I think for sure would be useful.
Yeah, we used to spend us Korea teaching folks a ton of time on the forums on Dave's ESL Cafe. For
Yeah,
China and Korea, they were super active, daily posts, and you'd find great information. They seem to have really kind of, sorry, Dave, but seem to have kind of died off. But there's still a lot of really useful information in sort of the back posts if you're looking for
yeah,
specific visa information or uh, stuff about certain cities or government policies or whatever.
yeah,
There's still a lot of really good information in there from way back when.
yeah, absolutely. Um, do you think expectations are helpful or harmful when entering a new country?
Personally, I would say it's safer to go in as a blank slate when it comes to expectations. Everyone's experience is going to be totally different. And if you expect things to be a certain way, odds are you'll be disappointed. I mean, having a good experience teaching abroad, in my own experience, requires a good amount of patience, perseverance, and the ability to roll with the punches. Figuratively speaking, it's likely going to be nothing like where you've come from or what you expected. But on the plus side, that's part of the joy of it too. Every day brings new experiences, new sights, new sounds. It's rarely boring if it's not always sunshine and rainbows.
Yeah, I'm an overthinker myself, so I am better with a blank slate as well, for sure. And I'd rather just go in and experience it in lifetime.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Should you get certified?
From my experience, yes. I went to Korea without first getting certified. I thought I knew what I was doing. I had some volunteer teaching and tutoring experience, but those first few weeks, and if I'm honest, probably first few months, were a bit of a disaster. My lesson planning was, I was just following the textbook, but I wasn't really prepared for anything beyond that supplementary stuff, really further engaging the kids. Classroom management was horrendous. I mean, the students themselves are telling me, "Teacher, what are you doing? This is not this is not how you should teach us." And my director also provided a lot of constructive feedback in those first few weeks. So yeah, I would have benefited from some serious TEFL training before I went to Korea. And beyond that, I mean, while it's not a visa requirement for Hagwons in Korea, it is a requirement for the public school program if you don't have your state teaching license. And it's a visa requirement in lieu of 2 years of teaching experience for China. And a lot of schools in Vietnam seem to say it's a requirement, as well as many across Europe and frankly around the world. Even if it's not a visa requirement, it's a strong preference. It really does give you an advantage over other candidates who may not have that certificate.
Sure. What's the one thing you would take with you if you went abroad again?
Well, I'm probably in the vast minority of people who would say this, but the one thing I really was not pleased with that I had not brought with me, and I would have never thought to do it, was skates. Because we went we went skating. They had a Seoul Olympic Park had a nice outdoor rink
Uh-huh. Yeah.
where we decided to go skating, but I didn't have skates, obviously, so we rented. And the only skates available for rent were these really hard shell plastic figure skate style skates with the toe pick. And I had never worn figure skates in my life. Number one, it was very uncomfortable. And number two, I was tripping over my own toes because of these picks that I'm not used to having there. And I so hated it that my then girlfriend, now wife, when she was going back to visit her family for Christmas, I said, "Can you please meet my parents and bring my skates back with you?" And she kindly did. That's how she met my parents for the first time.
That's
At
hilarious.
and then all my skating experience in Korea after that was much more enjoyable. So if you're someone who likes to skate or play hockey, bring your skates. There's even a rec hockey league, as far as I know, in South Korea. A lot of foreigners like to join that hockey league and keep up with their ice time, I guess.
I was thinking you were lucky as well that they had skates that fit you. I completely forgot when I was in Japan. I'm lucky that I had a smaller foot. I'm only size 6 in North America, but that could have been a problem because I was definitely on the larger end of the shoe size
Mm.
scale. So that's something I didn't think about too. Um, I think if I, mine's a little bit cheesier. I think I would like a hardbound journal. I think is what I would want to take with me. I mean, it's so easy to jot down notes and try and remember things on your phone or laptop, but I like the physical action of writing things down. And so I think that would be important for me. Something easy that you could take around with you as well. But
Like for work related purposes
no,
or
more
for
journaling for
journaling.
personal stuff. Yeah. I'm not great with details, and so even if I visited somewhere, I might not remember what that place was called, even 2 weeks later sometimes. And so I do. I like the idea of physically writing things down.
That's a good idea. Yeah. I mean, I've heard people definitely say that when they write stuff down, they're significantly more likely to
Mm,
remember it, even if they
yeah,
never read it again. It's just like having the physical act of writing it down helps
yeah,
it stick in their mind.
that's exactly how it is. Yeah, for sure.
Thanks, Ashley, for asking all those great questions. I hope we've provided a good amount of informative subject matter for our fine listeners. Do you have any other questions for me before we go?
I think I'm okay today, Rowan. Thanks for letting me be host for you today and answering all of our great questions. Thanks as always for tuning into the Teaching Abroad pod. We're aiming to release new episodes monthly for the foreseeable future. If you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to like, subscribe, and share with your friends. As always, you can find us on YouTube, Spotify, and your podcasting app of choice. If you have any questions that you'd like to hear about in an upcoming episode, feel free to tell us on Instagram or send us an email at teachingabroadpod@oxfordseminars.com. Thanks. Have a great day.